The meeting of the Revere Zoning Board of Appeals will now come to order. Roll call.
Mr. Bacilli. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo. Mr. Mazzoni. Mr. Colometto. And Mr. Tucker.
Present.
Quorum is present. First matter before the board is application A1615. This is the application of Carlos Faria, 80 Pearl Street, Somerville, requesting minimum frontage requirement variance within the RA1 District, North Revere, to enable the appellant to construct a single-family dwelling on Lot 1 at 205 Salem Street, Revere.
Would the applicant please press the button, state your name and address for the record?
My name is Carlos Faria, and the address is 205 Salem Street in Revere.
Okay, you representing yourself here this evening? Okay, then we'll take on the next calendar item number and we'll come back to you.
The next application before the board is application A1616. This is the application of Rising Community and Housing, Inc., 787 North Shore Road, Revere, requesting the following variances: front yard, rear yard, side yard variances, floor area ratio, and parking to enable the appellant to raise the existing structure and to construct a 5-story mixed-use building consisting of 30 one-bedroom veteran-preferred residential units and approximately 1,600 gross square feet of commercial space with 21 parking spaces on lots 2 and 3 at 43 Nahant Avenue, Revere.
Okay, before we start, if you face any pictures this way, they'll be put up on the television, so the audience will be able to see it, to view it. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Chairman Tucker, members of the ZBA. My name is Attorney Jerry D'Ambrosio, and my address is 14 Proctor Avenue, Revere, Massachusetts. Dear ZBA, we are here before you on a project, what is in essence a veterans preference housing apartment house on 43 Nahant Avenue. The clients that I represent here and the clients that have a petition before you are the Rising Community and Housing Incorporation. The two principals are Rob and John Nakashian. And Rob and John are both here. They're sitting in the rear. They are available for questions. Also here is the principal architect for the project. He's also sitting in the rear and would be able to take questions if you so have them. By way of background, both Rob and John are long-time Revere businessmen. They both have established businesses in the city of Revere. They both have contractor backgrounds and have developed quite a bit of property outside the city. They are no strangers to the city of Revere. With regard to the current parcel, again, it is 43 Nahant Avenue. It is approximately 10,648 square foot lot. It is the current site of what was traditionally known as the Temple Israel Jewish Synagogue on Shirley Avenue. That particular building currently seats about 400 people and has only 6 parking spots. Unfortunately, that synagogue has fallen into a bit of disrepair. The building itself has fallen into a state of disrepair, and I believe we have some photos here of...
Rick, can you put that up on the screen? Rick, can you put that up on the screen? I guess not, so you may have to turn it around, I'm sorry.
Do you want to turn it?
Okay, you can continue.
Thank you, sir. The current zoning for this parcel is currently GB, or general business. Residential apartments are allowed as a matter of right. Again, residential apartments are allowed as a matter of right here. The parking requirement is 1.5 cars per single bedroom. which is a significant upgrade from, again, the current site that's there. I do remember as a boy many years ago when temple services were held there, I actually recall that on high holidays, they would actually close down Nahant Avenue and they'd have parking on the street. I'm going back to when I was a boy in the city of Revere. So again, the proposed project here is a little bit different in nature. It is for veterans housing. For veterans housing, we have a 5-story mixed-use building. I believe Corey's put up a diagram, photo of that building. What, in essence, you see is 5 stories. It's important to note that this vantage point is a vantage point from Shirley Avenue. One of the goals, apart from veterans housing for this building, is to re-energize and sort of serve as an anchor for the rest of the redevelopment of Shirley Avenue. So the frontage in Shirley Avenue, the first floor, will be a retail use. There's approximately 1,600 square feet making up the front side of the building that abuts Shirley Avenue. What we envision there is a potential restaurant, a potential coffee shop. If members look at the first floor wall, you'll notice that it's designed very similar to some of the restaurants in the North End. It does not have walls on the first floor, rather it has slide-out windows, so that during the summer months, the goal is to have a cafe or a restaurant that has outdoor seating, so that it activates the sidewalk and actually draws the community into the facility. When we look at the second, third, and fourth floors, that is where the veterans preference housing will be. Each of the second, third, and fourth floors will have 8 one-bedroom units. Again, 8 one-bedroom units. The 5th floor is the top floor. That will contain 6 veterans units. It's important to note that, again, all the units that are proposed there, every single one is a 1-bedroom unit. They range in size from 478 square feet to 724 square feet. So again, these are very small units. They are designed for veterans preference. They are not family units. With regard to its location, the goal is to make it a transit-oriented development in terms of its usage of the nearby transit system. It's important to note that the Revere Beach train stop is only 400 yards from that front door of this building. 3 to 4 minute walk down the road, and you're on the blue line. Also, along Shirley Avenue, there's not 1, not 2, but there are 3 bus lines that run up and down Shirley Avenue. And the reason this is important, obviously, is because of the parking relief that is sought. Currently, this area is zoned for general business. As I've said, it's 1.5 parking spots for each unit. So we're talking about 30 units. It would be 45 parking spots under the current zoning. We have spots for 21. So there'd be a request for 24 spots of variance for the 1-bedrooms. In addition to that, there is some commercial use on the first floor that also by code requires some zoning that we are also asking for a variance on. Again, I think the crucial thing with regard to the parking is that these are 1-bedrooms. They are designed for veterans, and they are going to be geared toward the blue line, which is literally a few hundred yards down the street. Apart from the parking, the other relief that's requested are some setbacks. On the front side, which is the side that abuts Shirley Avenue, we're asking for a 3.5-foot setback. That 3.5-foot setback is very consistent with all the other properties that run up and down Shirley Avenue. In terms of the side setbacks, we're asking for a 14.5-foot setback on the side that abuts, I believe, Buster's Bar, if you will. On the rear setback, we're asking for a 10.5-foot setback. I think it's important to note that as the synagogue is currently situated, there's almost no setback. This will actually be an improvement for the home that abuts on the rear. And then with regard to the floor area ratio, we're currently asking for a 2.5 floor area ratio to allow for the 5 stories of apartment homes. Again, I focused a little bit on the veterans' preference nature of this project. Indeed, it is going to be veterans' preference. That preference is going to be on the books. It is going to run with the land for the next 25 years. The goal is not only to bring veterans here, but to also provide treatment as needed for these veterans. On one of the plans, which you don't have here, but I think was attached, the basement level of this facility is going to be set up for teleconferencing with a number of clinical offices that's going to allow federal housing officials to visit the facility and actually hopefully provide services in the facility as well as needed. There's also going to be a good-sized conference room in that area that also could be the site of some kind of telemedicine or other federal program that could be of benefit to the veterans who will be living here. Again, we believe that this type of housing is greatly needed in the area. You don't hear much about veterans' preference housing. It is a very worthy community goal. I would suggest to this board that helping veterans in this kind of setting greatly outweighs the concern with regard to parking. And then as an added benefit, we have the fact that we are removing a somewhat blighted building that currently exists and replacing it with a state-of-the-art building that will hopefully help rehabilitate Shirley Avenue over the next coming years.
Okay, thank you. Just one question that I had, well, it's the edification for the public. You did have a public meeting, if you could announce that you did that?
Absolutely. There was a public meeting held 2 weeks ago in the ward. It was held within the vicinity of this project. My recollection is we had between 10 and 20 or 25 people there. It was a fantastic meeting. We had a number of elected officials there that participated in the meeting. We had a series of questions. The meeting went for nearly 2 hours, is my recollection. I was present. We answered all questions at that meeting. We received no negative feedback after that community meeting, none at all.
Okay, thank you. Seeing that this is a public hearing, I'll open it up. Are there any proponents? Anyone in favor? Please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Robert O'Brien. I live at 10 Ocean Avenue in Revere. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Revere, and I am here to speak in support of this project and also on behalf of the mayor. From our point of view, this is a worthy project for a very deserving constituency. It will put to productive use a vacant property that has long been derelict. It will contribute to commercial vitality for the Shirley Avenue community, and it is extremely accessible to the local transit. And in all of those regards, it merits our support and has our support. I would also take this opportunity to acknowledge and applaud Ward Councilor Ira Novoselsky, who has long been a vocal and articulate advocate for this project, quite appropriately so, and it is our pleasure to support a project which is so near and dear to his heart. But on its merits, it deserves our support, and we urge you to approve the variances, which we think are reasonable on all fronts, particularly including the parking variance, since this constituency is not likely to have the kinds of vehicles which are typical in most residential. So for all of those reasons, we urge your support, and we testify to our support.
Thank you. Are there any other proponents?
Robert Haas, 350 Revere Beach Boulevard, City Council, former mayor. Mr. Tucker and distinguished board members, I am also in favor of this project. I think it makes great sense. As the previous speaker indicated, 30 units, not many people will have cars there, and I think what's being planned is adequate without question, and especially where it's a TOD project. You can walk, the people can walk there if they can, and more importantly, the veterans' preference I really believe in. So I'm 100% for it, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, proponent, please step up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lou McCarkis. My office is at 382 Ocean Avenue down on Revere Beach. I just wanted to give you just a quick history, if I may, on how the project evolved. When Ira came to me...
This is not a city council meeting, so we're looking for
understand.
variances. So you don't have to give any dissertation. We appreciate your offer, but there's no need for it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I'm in support of the project.
Thank you very much. Are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Are there any members that wish to speak? Nope, so we can go on to the next calendar item number, and we do vote at the very end.
The next application before the board is application A1617. This is a special permit application of Stephen Viviano, 47 Little Nahant Road, Nahant, requesting a special permit to enable the appellant to raise the existing structure to construct a 54-foot by 32-foot two-family dwelling on Lot 2 and 3 at 1089 Winthrop Avenue, Revere.
Good evening. If you could state your name and address for the record?
Yes, sir.
The light has to stay on.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Stephen Viviano, 47 Little Nahant Road, Nahant, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Gentlemen, thank you for your time tonight. I'm seeking relief for property located at 1089, 1091 Winthrop Avenue. Currently, there is a single-family dwelling there, aside a vacant lot. The single-family dwelling has been abandoned for some years. It's completely dilapidated, kind of rotting away, partially demolished by the previous owner. Stairs were taken down. There's actually no access to the building currently. The demolished portions of the house are still just kind of standing there and kind of just in complete disarray. It's a bit of a hazard, probably a breeding ground for rodents, and as I went around, I met a few of the local residents over in that area. They were, kind of appalled by it. They'd be happy to see it go. So my intentions and the reason I'm seeking relief would be to take that house down, rebuild a new structure. The new structure would, due to kind of the irregularity of the lot, would need relief for the front and rear yards and the side yard, and also the height. Though the lot square footage does meet the requirement of over 6,000 square feet, the setbacks would not meet. And also, this property is located in a flood zone for FEMA. Currently, it's below the base flood elevation, so I would also build the structure up and take it out and build it above the base flood elevation, and that would put me over the 30-foot height limit. So I'm also asking for relief for the height to be 34.6 feet. Setbacks for the house are pretty conforming to what else is in the neighborhood. The building composition, the exterior of it, I'm going to make complement the neighborhood very well. The layout, all the fit and finishes of it, I think will be an asset to that area, and I think will really dress the neighborhood up. And most importantly, people won't be going by there looking at something that's half abandoned, well, half taken down and been abandoned for some years now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Seeing that it's a public hearing, are there any other proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. I do have a few questions, if you don't mind. Have you been in front of the Conservation Commission as of yet, or submitted anything to Conservation?
No, sir. I was instructed that would be my last, I would come here first. I went in front of the planning board, and they had given me the paperwork to start this process.
The site plan review or the planning board?
The site plan review, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
all righty. Because the Conservation Commission with the new flood control, what would your elevation have to be? Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir. I have an elevated, a survey done here. Base flood, I believe, is 13 feet over there. I'm about 6.2 feet above sea level. I'm about 6.2 feet below that. So I'd have to bring the building up at least 6 feet, 6.2 feet, plus a foot for the framing members. My intention would be to go up 9.5 feet.
Okay.
Based on the planning board's recommendations, they had recommended that I put the parking underneath the structure, one of the spots. So to elevate it up enough to get the parking underneath there would put me about 3 feet above base flood elevation.
Okay, so you'd have one car underneath the home and then one in front of it?
Yes, sir, yeah, as reflected on that plot plan. And I also have some initial floor plans and everything, layouts of the exterior, if anyone would like review.
The question on the height of the home, because it would come up 44 point something feet at the pitch of the roof, are we correct? Basically, looking at your plans?
That would be to the lowest point. The building would be based on the average of the four corners, which existing average grade, as you see, is 7.8 feet. So the actual structure would be 34.6 feet above the ground. But from the lowest point of the structure, it would be the 42.4. But from the front is the higher point, and that would be the 34.6. That's how my surveyor's pretty well versed in this, and he went through it. I had the same question, actually, because it does show two different numbers there. But the finished height of the building would be 34.6 feet, and I have that down here on this, the building.
Because that's not the way it's depicted here, so that's questionable.
Could I bring these to you, sir, if you'd like to take a look at these? These are the actual plans for the structure.
If you can present them to the clerk. You just don't want to vote on it and then have it become a problem for you,
Yes, sir.
so we'd
No,
rather
I
clarify it
wouldn't want
now.
to get approved for something and then try to. I guess they take the average from that's from the lowest point of grade. This would be the actual structure right here, point of grade. As you see, it's 34.7 feet. That would be that's all the structure numbers, that's an issue. This is actually what we built it out. That would be 8.2 feet to your first floor joist, and then you go 16 inches above that to get that. Oh, you know what this is? This is actually above sea level. That's how far you are above sea level, and that's each floor, how high it is above sea level. So just to get the existing grade up to 70.8 feet above sea level, which is the flood. That's what you're referencing here. This is the actual.
Saying it's 34 point. These are the plans that have been recorded in the registry.
Yes, sir. Yep. This is 34 feet 73 inches, which on a.
This is 34.6.
We're going to need clarification on the exact height, because you're going to have to present a Mylar that's going to be recorded with the Registry of Deeds, so.
I left that with Ashley.
Yep, we have it there. We have the Mylar, but, so it's the same as, so we have to go by what the Mylar says, and that's
4.6.
34.6.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. The other thing is the current condition of the front of the lot. I've been asked that you have the stone removed from the sidewalk immediately, if you don't
Yes, sir.
mind.
I'll
I know
do
that
immediately.
that was
Yes, sir.
something just
There's
that,
stone actually overflowing out into the street.
yes, so
I
if
went
you
by there a
could,
few weeks ago, to be honest with you, and shoveled some of it back, because I had met one of the neighbors.
but if you could just make a public commitment that that'll be taken care of, no matter
I'll do
what
that
happens
personally,
there
yeah,
today.
As soon
Okay,
as we move forward on it, yes, sir.
thank you.
And I baited it last week as well. There were,
The
kind of-
abutter into the back of that property you've talked to?
yes,
So
sir.
he's aware that the existing structure's coming down and that you'll be putting a new structure up that will go closer to his home?
Yes, sir. It was a woman I met. She was out there with her dogs, and she kind of said, who are you? I was just a
Okay.
stranger to her walking around. I introduced myself and told her my intentions, and she said, we would be happy to see anything go.
Yep,
Right
please.
now, there's a pile of debris in the backyard, and
Okay. We just have one more calendar item number, and then we vote at the end. Is your,
He's coming in 5 more minutes.
we can't wait 5 more minutes, so maybe you have to present yourself. So step up to the microphone and we can go on with this. 'cause
I'm his real estate broker anyway, so.
Okay. On your plan, I'm not sure who, your surveyor Jay Jaros or?
Yep.
The plan shows that he put the zoning as RB. That would have to be corrected and a Mylar would have to be given back to the city. It's RA1
Okay.
zoning, it's not RB. So that would, something that would have to be corrected on the plan.
That's no problem.
Okay. So seeing that we had no, we'll continue this on and ask if there are any other proponents. Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any members wish to ask questions? Nope, so if you'd have a seat, and then we'll be voting on each one. Since we have, do you want to add anything, Joe? Everything's done. They represented, so there was no questions other than that they have to change the Mylar and the plan because it's an RA1, not an RB.
Okay, we can
That's
do
it.
that, and only to have my apologies for being
Okay,
late.
no problem. All righty, so we will now take each calendar item number.
First application, A1615 of Carlos Faria, requesting minimum frontage requirement variance within the RA1 District to enable the appellant to construct a single-family dwelling on Lot 1 at 205 Salem Street. Question now comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted, subject to a change in the plan.
So the only thing that would be granted, subject to the change, and you'd be submitting the new Mylar to the city clerk's office.
The next application before the board is application A1616 of Rising Community Housing, requesting various variances to enable the appellant to raise the existing structure and construct a 5-story mixed-use building consisting of 31-bedroom veteran-preferred residential units and approximately 1,600 gross square feet of commercial space with 21 parking spaces on Lot 2 and 3 at 43 Nahant Avenue, Revere. Question now comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted. Next application before the board is application A1617. This is a special permit application requesting the appellant to raise the existing structure to construct a new 54-foot by 32-foot two-family dwelling on Lot 2 and 3 at 1089 Winthrop Avenue, Revere. Question now comes on granting the relief requested by the appellant. Mr. Bacilli? Yes. Mr. Corrin is absent. Mr. D'Angelo? Yes. Mr. Mazzoni? Yes. Mr. Colometto? Yes. Mr. Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this is granted. No further business.
Having no further business, we will adjourn to our next meeting called by the chair.